talking about some of the benefits of using unbalanced. When we talk about unbalanced, it's not just tackle over, even though that's a big part of what we do. It's just any way that we can create a long side on the offensive line or a numbers advantage with our receivers, all right? So the advantages of using unbalanced formations are creating those 3- and 4-man surfaces, all right, to be able to run the ball, all right, using tackle over to create angles, especially against odd front defenses. Anytime you get those guys, if you're a 4-wide team that likes to run inside zone and they're playing a 4, a 4-eye, a 5, and you're not sure if you should read them or block them, what to do, the minute you create a 3-man surface, now you get that tackle tight end or tackle combo on that 4 technique to the backer. It makes it a lot easier for these teams. It's why I transitioned early on in my coaching career from being a 4-wide 10 personnel team to being an 11 personnel team, was to be able to create more of those 3-man surfaces. Okay, creating confusion for the defense, forcing them to think and communicate. So I talked about coaching high school ball, and we played at a high level. Saguaro High School, I think 4 or 5 times during my career, was a national top 25 team. We played last year, my last season there. I think we played 5 teams that when we played them were ranked in the national top 25. So we played elite level competition, very good teams, and I think this applies to all levels. Whether you're coaching freshman ball, coaching junior high ball, or you're coaching elite high school ball, anytime that you can force that defense to have to think and communicate in a short period of time, you're giving yourself an advantage. So I'm going to harp on that a bunch, okay? We want to create spacing and matchup advantages on the perimeter, okay? So angles, spacing, matchups, getting a big body on a small body. Anytime that we can use unbalanced to create those matchups, we're going to take advantage of it, all right? We use ghost formations. Ghost formations mean taking a wide receiver, putting him on the other side on the line of scrimmage, making him ineligible, but still forcing the defense to have to figure out if they want to account for him with a hat or if they want to keep a hat in the box and give us a numbers advantage on the perimeter. And we'll talk about all the different ways that we try to create that, all right? And it's a very, very easy using unbalanced formations, and you don't have to, it doesn't have to be the core of what you do, but having 6 to 8 looks that you carry into a game week forces the defense to have to prepare for a ton of things. So the way we were in the state of Arizona is we always traded the last 3 game films. So if I carried 8 unbalanced looks into a game, and I did that 3 weeks in a row, there might be 20 to 24 things that my next opponent has to prepare for. That's not what we really do. It's not what we spend a ton of time on, but they're going to have to spend a ton of time getting lined up and talking about the what ifs, okay? And so we're just going to try to create a ton of those what ifs. What if they do this from this look? Well, they've never done it before, but they could possibly do it, right? And so we're going to try to create as many what ifs for our opponent as possible. All right, so let's talk about the types of unbalanced formations that we like to use. The basic one is really easy. It's just going tackle over. We call it Toro or Talon. Tackle over right is Toro. Tackle over left is Talon. Okay? Again, when I talk about this is a regular nub tight end trips formation. Now all of a sudden, we go tackle over right, nub tight end trips. Now we create a 3 open look to the field with a 3-man surface to the field, all right? And for me, again, big inside zone read with bubble screen. If you're going to look at the base run play, read option play for us is going to be inside zone with bubble screen, inside zone with bubble screen. And we're going to find a million ways to run inside zone with bubble screen. If we're playing an odd front team that's playing 4s and 4-eyes, now I get that 3-man surface to run zone away from, and I still have my bubble screen and all my perimeter stuff to the field that I like to run, okay? So this would just be a base tackle overlook. Okay? We can dress this up a million ways. So, again, we create our 3-man surface. We can do it with 2 backs. We can do it with 4 wide. We can do it a lot of different ways, but we're creating that tackle over. Okay? And I'll go back to this. This is one of those, if you've got a dominant tight end, you might not need to go unbalanced to get him here. If your tight end is like the kids that I usually had at Saguaro High School, a kid that was a tough wrestler, but he was a linebacker, 6 foot, 200 pounds, not a true dominant inline blocker, but he was physical and he's willing to do it. Oh, I'd much rather take my right tackle, line him up next to my left tackle, create that 3-man surface, and let my tight end just base out a defensive end away from the play. Because if I'm running inside zone, it's an A-gap to A-gap play. I'm not really worried about the C-gap front side. So that's where I want my weaker blocker. I want my stronger blocker backside, washing down and working up to the backside backer so I could bend that inside zone back and gash it. And you'll see that happen a bunch on this. Okay? So again, odd front team, tight end, nub trips. All right? He's over here by himself. He's really lined up like he's a tackle. The other great thing is we go nub trips. He's lined up like he's a tackle, but he's still eligible because he's a tight end. He's uncovered. He can still threaten. So the defense still has to think about, shoot, they've got a safety and a corner over the top of him, right? Not a very good alignment. Now we've got the long surface right here, and all we're doing is running split zone with an RPO, okay? So we're running split zone. This is against a 3-4 team. We're washing down. Our tackle working the end to the backer. Our split action is working to the overhang who's playing off. All right, we're handing this ball off, and I mean, they've got nobody within 7 yards by the time we get to the line of scrimmage. So, again, really easy way to create double teams and create angles. Okay, same look here, split back. We're tackle over right. This is our Toro call. This would just be a traditional, all right, nub, 2 back, all right, nub with 2 open to the field, all right? And just running our base split zone with RPO. Now we actually throw the RPO right here. We're running tackle over, split zone RPO, inside fade with slant. Probably should have thrown the inside fade here, all right? But this dude right here just broke a ton of receiving records at Idaho, stud named Hayden Hatton. Going to have a chance to play on Sundays. But when the quarterbacks know they have a dude, sometimes they force the ball to him. This is about as open as it gets on an inside fade, all right? But again, creating that 3-man surface, all right? Now you can see same thing, tackle over with trips to the field. All right, just creating different looks. We talked about it. We want to be able to run inside zone with bubble screen, inside zone with bubble screen. We get into a wide bunch set. We can run a now screen. This always comes back to, and anytime I do a run presentation or ways to run the ball, we always come back to a box count, all right? If we're in 11 personnel with a tight end attached, means we can account for 6 hats, all right? And our quarterback can read the 7th, okay? So in this case, we're going to block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our quarterback can read 7. All right, we don't always do it right. Even my guys screw it up. So you can see right here, all right, the tackle over is wrong. He should be locking right here, locking out. This dude's hanging, all right, kind of in no man's land, but we don't lock out and block there. So again, when you look at this, you're like, shoot, all right. They've got 3 for 3. When we throw perimeter screens, we always talk about throwing in numbers, grass, or leverage. All right. To me, this would be a good grass play right here. Even though they've got the numbers, they've matched us 3 for 3. There's a lot of grass between our 3 and their number 3. So we could have easily thrown this out here. But if we would have had our count right, we would have blocked this backside end. Would have been a hat for a hat. And if he was in no man's land, and if you're ever in doubt, hand it off. Okay. Now creating a 4-man surface. So using tackle over with another tight end. So in this case, we're in 12 personnel, all right? We're in 12 personnel, and now we're creating a 4-man surface by going unbalanced, okay? Not something that we did a ton, but just showing different ways that we created a long formation. So again, this is just 2x2 tight end, but the tight end's lined up like the tackle. We're going Toro right here with a wing set, and all we're just doing is going fly sweep, running a stretch play, but we're doing it against an odd front team with the 4-man surface. There's just creating more gaps to be able to stretch and cut, okay? So we're just trying to paint. This is a basic fly sweep play we've run all year long. We're just changing the picture for the defense, okay? This was a state championship game in 2018 or 2019. Same look. Now we come back. The next drive, we're down in the red zone, and then we show the same look, and we run our arc inside zone read, and we've got a hat for everybody, put the end in conflict, and hand it off and walk in. So again, all the stuff we do offensively, we're just dressing it up. It's not new plays, it's just new presentations. Okay, the next form of unbalance that we like to do is just putting a receiver on the line. So I show right here in this clip a base 2-back formation for us. Our X and Z are on, our Y, who's our tight end, all right, is off. If we make an up tag, so if we call the same formation, Glock right is this. If I call Glock right up is telling the tight end to step onto the line, which now allows me to move my X off the line and be able to motion him. So all we're doing right here is really, we call it ghosting. We're ghosting the Y. We're covering him up. He's now ineligible to run downfield, all right, but you still have to account for him because he's still a hat on the perimeter, okay? So this would be an up tag, move our tight end up. The Z stays on. So the Z is covering the Y. Our X can move off, all right, and we can put him in motion. And now we can add an extra hat to the field, and you'll see how we do that. Okay? Now this was sketchy right here. We got to make sure we're set. We're still a little moving. All we did right here, move our Y on, move our X off. The motion tag to the formation, if we called X back, in this case this is a motion, X back is kind of like this orbit motion, all right, would tell him, hey, if we're tagging you on an orbit motion, it means you've got to be off. If we tag up to the formation, that tells the Y. Up talks to the Y, you got to step on, okay? So all we're doing right here, and you guys will see this as this presentation goes on, is we're running split zone with bubble screen. It's just a different presentation. Put the Y on. They're still accounting for it. We're going to motion back, and create bubble screen. If your X receiver is your best player, this is a great way to throw a bubble screen to your X, all right, and get him the ball in space. You can't always win one-on-one vertical, all right? You might be getting press, bracket, playing over the top, but if you bubble motion him, all right, or back motion him and throw him a bubble screen, now the ball's in his hands. Or fly sweep and pitch it to him. There's just different ways that you got to get creative to get guys the ball if they're trying to take it away.